All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker Carl, and I'm here with my good friends Dan, Catherine, Marjorie, Chris, and Karen. And today we're going to be talking about Tao Te Ching Verse 68 and Chapter 68 of Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao by Wayne Dyer. And their kind of topic is living by cooperating, or cooperation of living. And but before we get going, I want to give everybody an opportunity to introduce themselves. And for those of you who are watching this as a recording, if you'd like to join our Facebook group and participate with us on these hangouts, then just to go to the link that's below this video. There'll be a link down there that will link you to our Facebook group. And if you like this video, click like, subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends, and we'd love to have you participate with us. But anyway, so guys, introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the discussion.
Let's see, I guess I'm not muted, but here I am. Glad to be here. Super MC, DJ Crispy, in the house.
Hi, I'm Catherine Clement from Boulder, Colorado. Good to have everybody in the house today. Screen sharing is locked, and my mouse is ready for anybody that comes on with video that is not acceptable. So I think we're good for today.
I'm Dan Sissick. I'm here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where yesterday we actually, I guess, officially did hit triple digits. But today we're supposed to drop down about 20 degrees or so. So we went to one extreme, we're back down, and we're supposed to be like that for the next 6 or 7 days. So yeah, interesting weather here. We're going through our normal pre-summer, trying to decide what we're going to do, I guess.
It's Marjorie. Good morning. I just woke up, so I'm being kind and I'm off camera. I'm in Massachusetts, and I'm glad to be here today, and looking forward to sharing with you all. Thank you.
Welcome, Marjorie.
Good morning. I'm Karen Lohoff. I'm in Chandler, Arizona, and I'm not whining at all about dropping from our first three-digit day for 2017. I'm really looking forward to 2 or 3 days back in the 80s, and suddenly they sound fairly good.
Awesome, guys. I'm so glad to have you on here with us today. And welcome back again, Marjorie. And it's good to have you. We'll look forward to seeing you as soon as you wake up a little bit more and feel like being on camera. That would be awesome. Okay, so today we're talking about verse 68 of the Tao Te Ching. And who wants to go ahead and read this verse for us this morning? Okay, Chris, go ahead.
I'm going to unmute myself. Okay. Let's see. Tao Te Ching, verse 68. A good soldier is not violent. A good fighter is not angry. Good winners do not contend. Good employees serve their workers. The best leader follows the will of the people. All of them embody the virtue of non-competition. This is called the virtue of non-contending. This is called employing the powers of others. This, since ancient times, has been known as the ultimate unity with heaven. Verse 68.
Thank you, Chris. So, guys, what do you think about this verse? What was the first things that popped into your head or about this verse when you first read it? Who wants to go first?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind is that he's keeping the emotion out of things. You know, let me pull up the verse again. A good soldier's not violent. A good fighter's not angry. When I read a good fighter's not angry, I think of like a boxing match, and how they're not really, like, they might be mad at the person, but more than being mad, they're like focusing on their skills and their what the other guy's doing, trying to figure out what his stick is and how they can counter it. And they're crafty, they're calculating instead of being emotional about it. And I think in business that's so important to keep, well, probably in anything, but we are kind of a business group, even though we don't really talk about business in a direct way like that. But keeping the emotion out, and it's so difficult to do, especially like Lao Tzu. He got rid of his ego, evidently, but I still have mine, so I can get fired up really easily if you push the right buttons, like instantaneously with the right buttons. Other things, like I can have patience for years about things, but then I still have my buttons. So that's what I thought of when I first read that, is that he's keeping the emotion out of everything to be able to be in those ways, or asking other people to do that, to be in those ways, maybe.
I think for me, what really stood out, kind of the whole first verse, but really the one that kind of got me was good employers serve their workers. And I think nowadays so much in business that is, it's forgotten. A lot of businesses forget about their biggest and best asset being their employees, and making sure that what their needs and what they need are met, and that they don't have fear or anxiety or anything for themselves, so that way when they do come to work, they can focus on the job that they are there for. Granted, I think a lot of times we also get caught up in that, we have to have that, paycheck, we have to have that security and stuff like that. But a lot of people in these times need that security in order to feel like they can move forward to do other things. So I think, that's what really kind of jumped out at me, that, the lack of overall genuine care in a lot of ways for other people, just in general. I think, we become so enamored of ourselves and what anybody can do for us, we forget what we need to be doing for other people, just in general.
My thought was how thankful I was for Catherine posting um, the video of verse 68. That was my first exposure to the verse, and I loved the man's voice. And as I thought about that, I thought, well, when the first words out of somebody's mouth that you hear are "a good soldier is not violent," it kind of um, sets a tone really fast. And I know that my sister and my mother and I had voices that many times people could not tell the difference. If they call the house, they might say Pearl, which is my mother's name. They might say Mary Sue, which is my sister's name. They might say my name and not know which one of us they had gotten a hold of. But that's only when there's no violence and no anger, because I too, Catherine, am instantaneously ready with the defenses when certain things occur. And there was a period of my life where umbrage was the card I was playing almost all the time. It took me a long time to realize that I was just being offended right and left by everything But it's impossible to keep a regulated voice, a calm voice, a soothing voice, a flattering voice, a delightful voice when you're not in control and when you're um, not embodying the virtue of non-competition. I have been fortunate enough that after many years, and it really has literally been taking many years for me to get out of that wrangle of taking umbrage all the time, that I've had a lot of peace. But my sister had the good fortune to go away for 3 days this week and came back and called, and it, I mean, I could just give you detail after detail after detail, but it ended up I was violent. I was angry. I was my old nasty self, and certainly in competition. And for Pete's sake, who needs to be in competition? I mean, when you and your sister are in your 60s, there's nothing, there's nothing that makes sense about that.
In a way, I kind of get what you're saying about being in competition, because I have a brother and he's not quite a year younger than me, and we're very competitive. We just do it in different ways now, but when we were younger, we both loved sports and we're very competitive.
There's been a commercial on TV for, I don't know if it's just locally here, but it's for the company called the Edible Arrangements. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. I guess it's nationwide. And if you've seen the commercial recently, it's the brothers presenting this gift to mom for Mother's Day. And the first brother says, "Here we are. We got you this gift." And it's this little edible arrangement. And here comes the other brother in, and he's carrying a big old edible arrangement. He's got balloons and a puppy and 10 million. I don't know, maybe he didn't have a puppy. But anyway, he has all this stuff. And the first brother goes, "It isn't a competition." And the other one says, "It's always a competition, And then the commercial happens, and in the background you see them like wrestling with each other and crashing to the ground. It's pretty funny. And you bring up that sibling rivalry, and that was what popped into my head today.
I actually like that commercial too.
Mother's Day is not about presents, you guys. I don't know if anybody's ever, I think maybe even I mentioned it. Mother's Day was designed by women that were making a political statement about ending war and stop sending their sons at that time, because women were in there back then. This was written way, way, way back, the very first Mother's Day. It was a plea, it was a cry out to the women of the world to step into their power and get, bring peace about and stop the war and stop sending our children off to die and killing other people's children and things. I don't know how it's turned into this competition for presents, but it has.
I do. It's like a commercial thing. It's like this Valentine's Day where they're just selling a bunch of stuff. Do you know when that date was? Because that's interesting. That was making me think of something else in American history. Do you know when that date was?
I can grab it because I have it. So I'll
Was it in the early 1900s, maybe?
I think so.
You think so? I was watching a PBS special recently with my mother, and they were showing, it was the history of war, the World War I, World War II, oh boy. And so they showed where Woodrow Wilson saw Germany attacking all these different countries, and they were doing diabolical stuff to France and these other countries, But there was like tons and tons, hundreds of thousands of anti-war protesters, mostly led by women. And Woodrow Wilson took like a long time, if not years, and there was like really like millions of people being killed in France. But like Woodrow Wilson like held back on his anger and took a long time before they finally like decided to engage in war, because it was like, they thought about it for quite a long time. They cared about not putting everybody at war or just going haphazardly into it. So that made me think of that first line there.
Welcome, Christina. Glad to have you on here. Yeah, I like what you guys were talking about with the Mother's Day. I didn't realize that was how Mother's Day originated. I love learning about the history of holidays, because all this mumbo jumbo that happens now is all this commercial and selling, and it's all about spending money. Consumerism, that's the word I was looking for. But it's nice to look back on what those holidays really are for, and I love the fact that we're sitting here talking about Mother's Day as a protest to war and thinking things through and taking the emotion out of it, and that Woodrow Wilson did that. And here we are now in this day and age when we've had some terrorist attacks and things going on in the world, and it seems like emotion is what is driving so much of that, and it's so frustrating because if people would just stop, just quit freaking out about every little thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, obviously it hurts when other people do things to us, but we've got to think about the consequences that we're causing ourselves as well. I mean, if we're just out there going out to go to war just because we're pissed about somebody doing something, hell, we're sending all our people to die out there. And how is that better than the terrorists that came and bombed and did what they did? We've got to come up with better solutions, and I think this verse is a great reminder of that. Is that it doesn't have to be all about competition. It doesn't have to be about violence. We can think things through and come up with better solutions. And when we take the emotion out of our decision-making process, that's when we actually can brainstorm and come up with solutions. And the problem is that we allow our emotions to rule everything, then it just creates more chaos. So yeah, I appreciate that. And Dan, you were mentioning the business aspect of it, and how employers, it's nice when employers pay attention to their employees, and I think that's so super important, because it's not just the customers that we have to keep happy. We've got to keep our workers happy too, because if they're not, then they don't provide the right atmosphere for our customers, and you end up with frustration and resentment and all of that. And that I don't understand why more employers don't pay attention. And I will say that I am thankful that the job that I'm working at, the company seems to have a balance there. They're constantly asking for employee input, and they're making changes based on those things, as well as customer feedback. And it's it's refreshing to have that. And so anyway, that's my thoughts right now.
I was going to say, I'd say, like, well, remember throughout all this book, Loose House, sorry, is constantly telling us to take the ego out, and that's, I think, where a lot of emotion lives, is in the ego and puffing ourselves up, making ourselves more. And I think that's kind of what businesses have, because when you look at businesses, they kind of take on their own life, and they build up their own egos, and they build up outside of just the business itself, but it's a reflection of those that are in the positions that make decisions. But it's like, it goes back to, like you say, when you can take that out and you can stop and look at the issue, the problem, where you want to go constructively, and look at it you know, like, okay, this is that, that's that, kind of like how I look at things. I'm very analytical. I look at it and go, okay, that's that. Before don't get me wrong, I do act out in my own, when I'm hurt or something like that. But I'm kind of like Woodrow Wilson. I kind of take my time. I kind of step back and look at things for myself and try to move forward out of that. I'm not 100% perfect on that. In fact, I have lots of moments where I don't. But I like to stay in that vein because hopefully it gives me the better chance to see the opportunities to where I can take a better approach or find something that, oh, okay, that's why, that happened. Oh, well, let me change how I perceive it. So now I can go at it from a different point of view or something like that. And I think, so many times, it's also like everything right now out there, and I'm not meaning to pull this into it, but out there in the political realm, it seems like anything and everything just it's pushing anybody's button, not just, but it seems like it's just pushing everybody's buttons, and we need to get out of that as a country.
I think this is a time of extremes. There's a lot of energetic changes going on. I think people are behaving in such a way that it ignites the fire in the other people to do better or something, so that like the light wins in the end. You know what I mean? But I think people are really acting out. Like, I read an article yesterday where a judge in Alabama just passed this thing where she wants to start segregating schools again. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I thought we were further along than that anyway, But it just shocks me how far some people have come and how not far other people have not come at all.
Yeah, when you all were saying just the extremes in general, I totally agree. Everybody's just, I literally was just going on a rant on Facebook just right before I hopped on here about this overreaction on the extremes. It's driving me freaking crazy. It's making common sense reality become like the minority, like little voice in the conversation, and it's just overwhelming to me. And I really could be like, I think that I could be like blindly ridiculous too, given the fact that I actually am part of so many communities that are under attack right now, that you would think that like I would be overreacting and acting crazy. But I often feel like I'm the most reasonable one in the conversation. And it's just, to me, I don't understand it. These energies that you were talking about, Catherine, like, you were on it, girl. I can't. We got to figure out how to mute some of this or something. Not mute it, but just how do we just make people be rational? It's like the spirit of wanting to compromise and the spirit of wanting to love the next person, or at least respect the next person. Hell, even respect ourselves just seems to be null and void anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that's good. That's good, Christine. The thing that reminds me of is something like CNN. I'm gonna bring it up. Okay, so something like CNN or these major networks. So they totally talking about these political people, right? So they go right at these political people, and they're focusing on them for 2/3 of the show or whatever, right? Or 3/4 of the show, and they're focusing on these people and how they're just a bunch of wombats, and it's like ridiculous talk, and you're like, why am I even watching this? And I mean, we almost need to give ourselves enough respect to not the law of attraction principle I'm thinking of is like, what you focus on, you get more of, And it almost serves us better to not focus on it. I don't know what else to say. I mean, obviously there's a fine line where you have to stand up for what you believe, and you have to like be able to speak your mind on things. But sometimes these people are not logical. People are not logical, and you literally can't reason with them because they're like, dumb's the word I want to use. So I don't know.
That's an interesting, like, I get where you're coming from. I don't know that I agree that we just need to, like, just totally ignore it, because I actually feel like we're in this place partly also because so many people were asleep at the wheel that it was easy for some people to come in, some entities to come in and totally manipulate things. And now people say the most ridiculous, stupid stuff.
Right.
So I think
that's true too. I
think being, like, for myself, I have like a mechanism in my mind and in my soul when I need to just check out for a minute, right? And if you notice, like, you all probably have noticed that y'all have not seen me posting as much on social media, aside from the fact that I'm just ridiculously busy right now. I literally consciously decided, okay, I've got to figure out how I can contribute more of a warm and loving, not trying to make everything so woo-woo and this is everything so wonderful and love is love, but I'm definitely being more conscious about the energy that I'm contributing. And I'm right now trying to figure out how I can be balanced in providing positive, loving energy. Even if I disagree with respect and love, while presenting some factual or some opinions that really should be considered. It's very hard to come with that balance when you're not met with that, right? So I'm having a hard time navigating that, but I keep trying anyway.
I think that's a good point right there, that we all need to really think twice, so to speak. You know, my mom always taught me, engage brain, or engage brain before mouth, that type of thing, and we all really need to, take that step back and really try to, still come forth with our criticisms, so to speak, of or what we value and what we see as from our perspective, but do it in a way that does not offend or put other people off, but helps them to see the value of our side, while I in turn, like you say, for somebody else, look at what they're presenting for the value of they're presenting, and try my best to keep my ego out of it. And that's hard, because even I haven't been posting as much on Facebook as, and if I do, it's usually fun, silly little things, because right now I'm still in the process of trying to rebuild my website and stuff and get things. I've done a few posts, but I'm trying to, not just, rattle off because of something, bugs me and hits me the wrong way. I'm trying to, again, put something out that at least is fun and different, even if that's, right now the way I can kind of do that. But I want to get to where when I do put good things out, that I'm putting it out in a vein of, this is how I see it, but what is your take on it? Let's talk, and let's see if we can't find something that works, that can be useful for everybody, or that people have the choice to use if they so choose, because people, no matter what you do, if you put stuff out there, you can't force them to do, all you can do is try and open up the channels. Hopefully they wish to, and then you can move forward.
Yeah, for sure. And it's hard to communicate with somebody in a rational way who is communicating in an emotional way. And I have a hard time. It's like I see some of these people arguing about stuff on social media and some of these things that have happened, and I'm just like, I just can't even listen to it. I can't read it. It just makes me sick inside, and there's nothing you can say to any of them to diffuse the situation or calm the situation or make them think the rational side. There's just so far one way or another on that, and it's just painful. And I try not to look at that stuff, to be honest with you, because most of it, the stuff that I hear about is the stuff that my husband sees online, and it's usually relating to some event that's happened and relating to trucking, semis, regulations regarding that, incidents that have happened, and that sort of thing. Or, he keeps telling me about these things with Delta Airlines being, I don't know, kicking people off the planes and crazy situations, and it's just excruciating for me to hear it. And because I'm like, it's one of those things that's a trigger for me when people are acting crazy. I'm just like, oh, why? I don't understand why you want to create so much pain in your life, and it hurts me thinking about the anger and the upset emotions that are turmoil inside of these people, and I don't want to be drugged into it because it makes me sick. So, but yeah, I know. I mean, what can we do, Christina? I don't even know. I don't know how to help people other than to share what we're sharing here as much as we can and show that there is another way, because they just like I was saying before, when they're in the midst of that emotional turmoil, there is no communicating with them and expecting them to hear the rational side of it. And it's just, I don't know, frustrating. All we can do is connect with other people who think rationally and who are like-minded, and hope that our words are spread, and maybe they will hear them at a time when they aren't emotional, and maybe the next time they will think twice about their, I don't know.
Okay,
If
I'm
I
awake. I was going to say that I woke up and I just read this as we were all joining, and I have to say it was really quite impactful, because I guess even just reading the first few lines, very, very short and very to the point, it did kind of catch me surprised, like, oh wow, this is really very interesting that we're reading about a good soldier is not violent. And it made me think about words, the power of words, as you're reading, beautiful, very purposeful writing like this from the classics, from, a master. And you think about, I guess as I was reading it, because I was caught a little off guard by what I was reading, I was thinking, here he is focusing on these words that he wants to share that are so valuable to him, that he wants to capture them. And I was really thinking about the ego, that what he's really talking about is, people have a purpose and an intent. A soldier, a fighter, the winners, I guess, an employer, that they all have a purpose and intent, and it's how you go about it that's really important. And what he's trying to teach us is do it in a clear, beautiful way. Be successful in your intent, but not clouded with the negative, with the ego. And the last two lines I thought were really, 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 really awesome. I mean, like, he's trying to sum it all up for us so it's clear. This is called employing the powers of others. And then the very last line, this since ancient times has been known as the ultimate unity with heaven. Okay, well, I can totally go for that. I mean, he's really saying we are all connected. We're all one. You're employing the powers of others. Like, it's almost, to the last time I was here, we were talking about leaders, and what is a real leader? Well, I said the leader is really with all the others. A leader is nothing without all the others. And then the idea of we're all in the ultimate unity with heaven. Like Catherine and I were talking about this, that sorry, the print is so small here. It's the last line says that this since ancient times has been known as the ultimate unity with heaven. And so to me, he's saying to us, life, your life right now, whether you're a soldier or an employer, that your real being is to be in ultimate unity with heaven, nothing else. Nothing else is more important. And so when you grasp that, here he is trying to share it with us, that life is beautiful. You're living without ego, you're living with a beautiful intent that's really shared with all the others, because you literally are, employing the powers of others. And so when we're all realizing that, because it's called the morphic field, that we are one, the power of one. I just think that's really where we are today, because I pay attention to that, and it really has a lot of meaning to me. We're here, and I view this group and what we're doing here, sharing these verses, as part of that effort and that connection and that force that will bring us to that change where we need to go. We need to go there, and we need to do that work, and each one of us has to do the work, which we're doing right now. And because we're evolving and we're raising up in vibration, and when we do that, that we're literally affecting everybody and doing the work for everybody, and changing our lives and our world, and the vibrations of everything in the universe. So we really are walking dynamic divine beings, and that is how we change people around us. We're not going to change people with an effort, because he's saying right here, do it without effort. Do it without being violent, being angry, don't contend, don't be competitive. And so yes, we affect everybody just by our being, and the only thing we really can change is ourselves and our energy within us. And that's how I see it. Like when I hear you say listening to the news, heard so long ago, don't bother listening to the news, because there's nothing you can do about it. You're not there on the Delta airline flight, with all the passengers. You're not there in another country fighting a war. The only thing we can really do is work on ourselves and be who we are as we evolve. And that good energy and light is what we bring around us. Because I used to work in a school system for 10 years, and I really couldn't stay there anymore, because it just got really very, very negative. And I realized, as much as I've loved being there for many good reasons, being with the children and doing all that good serving, it just got overwhelming for me. And it wasn't meant for me to be there anymore, because I wasn't adding to the good energy anymore. I was falling into all the things that it's saying in the verse. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for listening.
I was going to jump out and kind of add on to what you were saying, Marjorie, because in the book, Lu Zhao talks about doers lose that Tao advises employ the power of others, which you spoke about, to elevate yourself to the status of winner. That is, cooperate with your opponents by wanting them to play at a high level, the best they're capable of. Shift your focus from being upset or self-reproaching to the task at hand. See the ball, move the ball, or remain upright and balanced in a martial arts contest. When anger isn't a component, your game will go to a new level. And this is true off the athletic field as well. What you fight weakens you, what you cooperate with strengthens you. So change your thinking about competing to cooperating in all areas of life, including work. And I think that's been proven time and time again, that when people combat each other, who really wins? Yes, sometimes, a lot of times, as in sports and stuff, there is a winner, but at what cost and stuff sometimes. But if you work together and you come together and form a plan together, then it seems like everybody tends to win better and in a bigger way. And I think that's something that, can be really thrown out there as we operate out there in the world. And, within our own realm, going back to what you were saying, employ that in our realm here with those around us. And hopefully that ripple can, start to ripple outward in a positive, impactful way.
Yeah. To the question you were asking me, Samantha, like I had three thoughts go through my head at once. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to tackle first. But it actually speaks to what Marjorie and Dan are saying, like, and with the point the chapter is talking about, like, I have long taken a stance of my goal. My goal is not to be right as much as my goal is to contribute another opinion or perspective. And I also, unlike many people today, I'm not looking for the finish line, right? So if I'm talking, like I was talking to someone at work who has a very conservative, I'll say conservative. They have a very conservative perspective on something. I personally find it, just lacking on so many levels. But my goal with having the conversation with her was not to change her mind, but rather just to leverage her logic to show her how even her logic doesn't actually apply in reality like she wants it to, or like the word even said. Her interpretation of the word says so, because Lord knows my interpretation of the word doesn't say so. And my pastor preached on this not too long ago, and his didn't say so. So I was trying to show her that there's another perspective. Perhaps we could talk about this other perspective. And then upon doing so, she was like, I hadn't actually thought about it like that. I'm gonna have to think on it, right? And 2 days later, she comes back to work and she's like, I think, and then she told me what she was thinking. I'm like, this ain't even the same woman I was talking to 2 days ago, right? I just needed to inspire her without venom, right? So the way I go about it is just don't respond with anger, no matter how much of it I feel. Now, my biggest struggle is also not infusing a little bit of passive-aggressive condescension in there, because I could do it like nobody's business. So I have to check myself on that. But really, I just try to come at things without the venom and not taking the emotion away, because I got to be honest. I think the lack of emotion in a lot of ways doesn't serve us. If a person doesn't truly understand how profoundly their stance or their thoughts or their opinions affects another person, and it's hard to convey that, if you say, that really hurt my feelings. Well, hell, I don't know. You don't look like it. You don't sound like it. You don't act like that really hurt your feelings, right? But now, if I'm snotting at the nose, my eyes are red, I got tears coming there, and I'm like, then you think, oh my gosh, something I said really, that makes a difference, right? I just think that the importance is for the emotion to be channeled in a productive, effective way. And that's not going to be the same for me as it is for you, as it is for Chris. Everybody's going to be different. You kind of have to, I think, if we could all get to a level of committing to what that point is for ourselves. And I think the next thing that I do is I also, I don't look for just like-minded groups. As a matter of fact, I probably communicate with more people that think and feel and live differently than I do, than people that think, feel, and live the same as I do, right? And it's because most people find comfort in the likeness. I get bored with that myself. So I'm always seeking other people, because I want to grow and learn and expand. And I feel like that I can help other people grow, learn, and expand, because there's no way that this world is going to get to where I want it to be without those people over there. Right. So I really do strive to have that bridge, make that bridge.
Okay, now I'm gonna go there and go to the other. You said the world the way that you want it to be, but who says you're the definitive thing? See, that's the thing. We all see our world and we see it how we want to see it, and so then we get kind of trapped in that. And so from there, I think that's where the open dialogue needs to come in, to see the other points of view. Because if we all stay in the vein of, how this is how I want the world to be, it's not going to be the best world for everybody. So
No
I
doubt.
think,
Notice that I didn't say. Notice that I didn't say the right way, which is what I want. Notice I didn't say that because I don't think my way is the right way. But I do think that I have a very moderate, middle way, open approach to life, people, and cultures and situations. So I feel if more people had at least that starting point, we could get there. That's a good point, though.
I wonder if I could take things in just a little bit different direction. I've been going through this verse and picking out the line that I feel maybe that I like the most or benefit the most from or can share the most with. And actually, Marjorie talked about this with the last two, and when she mentioned the last one, I thought, well, I guess I just kind of blocked that one out because, certainly I think we're all aiming for the ultimate unity with heaven, no matter what however we view that. We want peace. I don't know of anyone who doesn't want to have peace in their lives and within themselves. But I had an experience over the last couple of weeks, and it was an experience that was really, really, really difficult for me to have and to wait out, and I learned a tremendous amount from it. And I can see growth in myself because of handling it differently from how I know I would have just a little while ago. 2 weeks ago, I noticed that I had no earthly idea where some money was that I had collected for my son for his business. He's still out of the country, and I don't know if, well, I guess I'll just share. I basically am a hermit in his home. He's been developing a business with little puppies, and that has been really taking a lot of the edges off of me to just basically be here with tiny little innocents who can't possibly defend themselves against the big ogre, and so I can't be a big ogre with them. And anyway, it's very rare that anyone comes into the home, and I was kind of assaulted. I was not anticipating a little visit I had by 3 people without announcement, and as I woke up from a nap, generally I wake up really, just like normal, but I was real logy after this one. And after they had left, leaving me lots of puzzlement as to how they had the nerve to do what they did. And I don't know how much longer this was, but I thought about this money, and I thought, I've got to be sure that I'm conscious about this, because I don't know, maybe the rest of you don't lose consciousness about anything. Like, you always know where your keys are, right? So I noticed that I was checking where it would make sense for me to have put this money and where I kind of vaguely thought I had, and it wasn't there. And I literally decided that had to be the spot. And over a period of about 10 days, I went through every page of file folders that I'd had this big thing with a bunch of file folders, and I thought I'd just kind of laid it there. Well, I've had good success before praying for things, to find things, to kind of focus myself, and that wasn't happening. And I thought, what's going on? And of course, I did think about this little trio that had come in because one of them was a known thief child. So, no, didn't come in with shackles or handcuffs or anything like that. And I thought, it's not going to do me any good to think about that being a possibility. I mean, it really is an unlikelihood. I mean, it's not as though I just love Alice's Restaurant. That song, if you've never heard it before, you see this thing at the bottom of a steep incline, and down there, there's all kinds of, I forget how it works, but arrows and all kinds of stuff pointing out, here's the thing. And I I don't know. I guess I need to meet that guy and have him sing it for me so I can find things better. But I was picturing, how it couldn't be here, it couldn't be there, it couldn't be there, and there's just not that many places it could be. And during the course of this time, I have been making a pointed effort to find what the subconscious is. Candace Pert died leaving a legacy of, your subconscious is your body. There's people, I mean, the number of places that people consider that your subconscious might be are amazing. And I will tell you that one place I had never considered was in my heart. And I did listen to some of the missing pieces on Gaia from Greg Braden and learned to practice with my heart. I did find the money. I contribute that. And John Kehoe, who we were talking about before we opened this with, who I saw in a video, and I was thinking last night, he looked me directly in the eye. We're talking from Google Hangout through my monitor. He doesn't have a clue who I am. He looked me in the eye and said, this video is going to make a difference in your life. That's my intention. Something good will happen. Well, after you've been waiting nearly 2 weeks on tenterhooks to find money, I thought, how did he do that? I thought he looked me in the eye. It was an intention. He is a true leader, and he made it clear what he was doing as he spoke to me at that time. And so I just appreciate that there's, lots of ways of employing the powers of others, even if you are a hermit. Thank you.
I was going to just share
Okay.
that
Yeah.
Catherine and I had this discussion about, I was using the phrase the mundane world, that I really love, like reading verses like this and bringing me closer to the divine, wanting to be there and wanting to do that work. And then I was using the phrase the mundane world and our mundane lives and how we have to pay bills and go to work and do all this other stuff. And she made a beautiful message that merged the two together, because you are divine, and as you live your mundane life and doing your mundane things, bring that energy, because that's really what it's all about. It's really nothing separate. And so that to me is, I believe, what the verse is all about, not being violent, not being angry. And the other thing is, as we're all on the path, I guess one of the phrases I heard that has meant a lot, and I think that you use this when you want it not to go there, thinking about the young child that's a known thief, was the concept of, as you're doing the work that we all need to do, which is evolving and going higher in vibration, is just be kind. Just be kind, because I guess it's a simple enough phrase. If you keep that foremost in your thoughts, then no matter what situation you're in, whether you're talking to coworkers, trying to share your thoughts, just be kind, and so anyway, that's just something that I remembered, and I just wanted to share that because I have siblings too, and I have a sister that I text with. She's in New York City, and sometimes I just can't get into chat discussions with her because it'll go along the same lines, and it almost seems repetitive. Like I know what she's going to say, and it's the same old story about a certain other family member. And so I guess I was just thinking about just be kind, and the other aspect of that, sometimes you do think that you're higher or better than others. It was kind of interesting because I'm really into astrology and I know my chart, and that's what they say about Aquarius North Node, that we think we're better than others. I went, oh my goodness, I think that's true. I'll have those thoughts as and it's because in the previous lifetimes, your south node is when you're North Node Aquarius, your south node Leo, and Leo is the king, and Leo is royalty. And so obviously what it's saying is that in previous lifetimes, you've been there at the top, leading people, being the leader, being the king or the royalty, whatever. And so you had to take that responsibility on and do things for people, right? And so I was thinking, okay, Marjorie, you need to pay attention to this as part of your learning and evolving. Don't think you're higher than others, or if you're thinking that, just be kind. Stop those thoughts. So anyway, thanks for letting me share.
I guess
We are at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Catherine. Yeah, we're at the top of the hour. Okay, everybody share their final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up for today.
All right, I'll make this really quick. Just something else to think about. Something that I keep, I go through cycles in my learning, and I see the same lessons come around again and again, and I watch it. And something that keeps coming up in my life is the importance of balance. So what if, the more we raise our vibration and the more we are good, what if that forces more bad to equal it out? There's balance, and we want it all to be good. But what if the gooder we are, the badder they have to be to balance shit out? It's something to think about. We'd like to believe that if we gave everybody in the world the same amount of money and the same amount of, conditions, the same food and the same everything, that things would be equal, but they wouldn't, because people are not, I'm not saying they're not equal, they're equal, but people are different. And there would be people, like the same thing would happen that is happening now. There would be people that would just blow all their shit, and there'd be people that would make something out of it, And so sometimes I wonder, when and Marjorie, you and I have talked, about, well, what are we supposed to do? Should we just go up to the top of a mountain and just be a monk? Well, what if there's too many monks, and the more monks there are, there's got to be more thieves to balance it out. So the other thing that I'll just leave you with is, scientifically, if you believe in science, we're not here. There's actually more scientific evidence that we are a hologram, that we are actually just, when people joke and say, oh, it's just a video game, it literally could be. There's more scientific evidence to show that we are computer programs than to show that we are, quote, live human living beings. So keep that in mind before you get too derailed.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate you watching my hologram. And fortunately, I wasn't able to be here, but at least my hologram was. So thanks a lot. It was fun. It's nice to be in great company. Hope you guys have a terrific week. In your service. Thank you.
Well, now that Catherine has just kind of got me on, like, okay, whoa, I wasn't really ready. I was with you on the whole, nature kind of balances itself out. And then you said I was a hologram, and then I was like, whoa, I wasn't ready. I haven't actually read that scientific evidence, but I'll take you at your word, and I'm gonna have to spin with that. My parting thoughts is just, I don't know. Can we maybe seek to be humble? Maybe seek to be embracing rather than right. That's my parting thoughts.
I'll jump out. I'm along with you, Christina, when Catherine said some of those things. It's like, okay, I'm there with you on the balancing out part. I really am. I can see that. I get it. The other part took it a whole new level of the video game, as you would say, and I'm not that level because it's kind of a whole new concept to me. And I'm like, Christina, I'll just trust you and maybe look for things myself now a little bit to see what that's all about. But I agree with Christina. I think going back to like what Luce Tower and what my beliefs and how I look at things, the more humble and more genuine and authentic I am, and what I put out there, that will resonate out there and hopefully have an impact. And so I think that's what I'll leave with.
My final words would be employ the powers of others. I think it's so outstanding that we're utilizing such incredible wisdom and benefit from someone who lived so long ago, and we share it with each other. A group that I would hope that everyone who observes this group can sense the love that we have for one another, and that we would have for you. If you jump on, share with us. Thanks.
I was going to say that, Catherine, the idea of balance, I'm glad you brought that up, because the work that we all are doing to rise higher in vibration and to reconnect and know that we are divine, that positive energy is transmuting us and our world and everyone around us. And so what I have read, and which I believe, is that as we do the good work, that we transmute what has come before us and what is with us right now. We're doing good work, and we are transmuting the negative. So to me, I believe the balance is not just an equal part of good and an equal part of bad. I really believe the balance is all good, because that's really the nature of who we are as divine beings. That's part of the invocations that I've come across that I hold close to me, is that as we do the good work, the invocations, the prayers, the intention of going higher in vibration, that we're transmuting things. We're actually bringing out the negative, because it's ripping away the veil and the hiding that they're doing, the cloaking. So it looks like there's more bad, but I believe it's just being exposed. It's always been there, and then it's being transmuted by our good work. And the words of being humble and such, I was just remembering that Archangel Metatron, he laid it out very clearly in a book that I found just a few months ago, and that the whole point of how we should be living is love, most powerful force in the universe, and gratitude, because we're magnets, we're magnetic beings, we're beings of energy, so we draw to us whatever we magnetize within us. So if we're grateful for all the good things, then we'll draw more of those good things to us. So it's always love and gratitude. And then the most powerful energies you can hold within you are happiness and joy. And if you carry that in you, that happiness and joy, no matter what your beliefs are or thinking, that's just beautiful energy. And that's part of your being the magnet that brings more good to you. So that's something that I really valued as having come across, remembering and focusing and trying hard, love and gratitude and happiness and joy. And so I appreciate today. I really appreciate it. And it was a beautiful verse. Those two last lines, I think are just tremendous. And it is that concept of here is a master teacher across the years and such, putting down, his words, which are very powerful, words are very powerful, something for us to hold on to. So I appreciate just coming across this and being able to find it through this group. So thank you.
So wonderful hearing everybody's different perspectives in here. And I think that's kind of one of the keys in this verse, is to be open to and allowing for everyone else's ideas and perspectives, and to, just because someone shares an idea that seems completely off the wall crazy, to not get emotional and be like, no way, huh? That's not possible. I'm going to freak out and be mad and no, you're not right. I hate you. I mean, it's not productive, right? But I love what you were sharing earlier, Christina, about, your coworker and having that conversation and being like, okay, I hear you. I understand what you're telling me. And instead of getting mad and bringing aggression and a competition or disagreement into it, is to be open and allowing that person to share their opinion and being respectful of their opinion and giving credit to their opinion. And then also saying, okay, I hear what you're saying, but have you thought about this? And that's a whole different way of communicating versus nuh-uh, and you're not right, and I'm the only one that's right. I mean, that just creates more aggression and more anger, and it doesn't help anything. So, and then I love what, Dan, you were sharing part of what Wayne Dyer was talking about, and he was in there sharing about how, if we look at life or all the other people as some aspect of ourselves, and that they're there to help us learn and grow and become whatever we are supposed to be working on to become. And we see each other as part of that, instead of being in competition with one another, then we allow ourselves to grow in that way. So I just, wonderful. Everybody shared wonderful things today, and I love you all so very much. And for those of you who are watching, please click like on this video, share it, click on the link below the video to jump into our Facebook group, and you can join these discussions as well. We meet every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. And you can find all of our replays. You can visit by visiting SaturdayMorningMastermind.com. So with that, have a great, awesome, and amazing week, and we'll see you guys next week on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.